So if you can believe it or not, even with this sunshine, that you can see in the picture, it is December 22nd. It doesn't matter what year it is, because the things I'm going to be talking about are timeless and will be poignant no matter what the year. Of course, December 22nd is part of the so-called winter solstice, which is just a couple days before what they call in the West, in the Western civilization, Christmas, right? The Christ Mass, which of course is a contrivance and a fraud. And by the way, before I get too deep into any of this, if you are easily offended, I encourage you to switch off, because I'll probably be talking about some things today that might offend some people. So go ahead and switch off if that's not your thing. But if you're into the truth, I encourage you to stick around and hear me out. The true birth of Yeshua Christus, if there ever was such a real man. And at this point, it doesn't really matter. We know that the Jesus character that the church cooked up is a fabrication, is an amalgamation of many characters. And the word Jesus itself, is a derivative of the Latin, Spanish derivative of Yeshua. We look closer at the word Yeshua. Of course, it's the word yes, Y-E-S, starts the spelling of that word. Just like the chief word for God, which is Yahweh, is also affirmative. Yahweh is German for yes and French for yeah. God is yes. God is yes, the affirmative, the nodding of one's head. And likewise, Yeshua, the original name for the great Essene, the Christ figure, the true Christ figure, if there ever was a historical one. And I believe that there was. I just don't believe that it is what the church sold to us as Jesus. It's also denoting an affirmative. Yes. Yes. God is yes. Yeshua Christ, the Essene, the great yogi, the great Tantra master, the one who went after the banksters, the part of Christ's so-called history that has been tampered with and watered down, mistranslated, miscommunicated, and tucked away outside of the missal, the so-called liturgical year. Any of you who have been churchgoers over the years, particularly in the Catholic Church and the big 501c3 Protestant churches, will know that their liturgy consists of the same formulaic biblical verses throughout the calendar year. Every week, of every month, of every season, the same verses get trotted out, and they leave the rest out, i.e. Genesis, Revelation, and many, many others. And those verses are only touched upon, if ever. This is important, because in order to understand something, it must be understood in its totality. And the Bible is one of the most abused books in history of mankind. It is also one of the greatest, if not the greatest, in mankind's history. The Bible is the most misunderstood thing, and it has been tampered with in ways that we can't imagine. And people take their preacher at their word, and guess what? You should not do that. We must dig deeper. Yeshua Christ, that part of the gospel where Christ overturned the tables in the temple, the so-called banksters. This great warrior, Yeshua, he was a great warrior, that's what he was. He went after the evil and darkness in the world. And guess what? Everything he did is telling us exactly. Everything he did and everything he was going up against is showing us, telling us exactly what is happening in the world right now. Except now, it's even on a grander scale, because information is available at a finger click to anyone around the world with digital devices and the like, i.e. computers, cell phones, artificial intelligence. I don't believe in artificial intelligence. Of course, it doesn't matter what I believe. Let's just say that I know it to be dark and evil at its core, because it had to start somewhere, and the gazillionaire Khazar Illuminati developers, the billionaires who are in charge of it, they're not going to let you know anything they don't want you to know. Let's just get that straight right now. If you think AI knows everything, it doesn't. And it will not tell you the truth when you ask it certain questions. And you bet your bottom dollar that they're going to make sure that that is the case. There is a control behind it. Any information that they don't want to be in there, it's not going to be in there. And so, on some level, you're going to get lies. So be very, very careful with AI. I don't need to harp on that. There are millions of people who agree with me about that now, who see the sickness in it. Hell, people are going psychotic and suicidal when they get too attached to their little AI friend who seems to love everything that they say and all of the questions that they ask. AI is the end of humanity if we are not careful. And in fact, there have been plenty whistleblowers from the inside who are coming out and saying this. Now, are they propagating scare tactics? Maybe, but I doubt it. I know that there is some truth to what they are saying. There has to be, because they're looking at the situation and they themselves are getting scared for their own children and their own grandchildren. What is humanity to become? Now back to Yeshua for a minute. Yeshua went after the banksters, pure and simple. And one of the parts that is the most watered down about the life and actions of Yeshua Christus was the fact that he beat these people with whips. I'm going to say it again. Christ beat the banksters with whips. He was not afraid of them like we are today. Oh, can't do nothing about billionaires. All we can do is vote. Your vote never counted. If our votes counted, they wouldn't let us do it. I'll say that again. If our vote counted, they wouldn't let us do it. So Yeshua fought the banksters head on. The synagogue of Satan, which is exactly what he called them himself. He called them out to their faces. Woe unto you, scribes and Pharisees, generation of vipers, a den of thieves, ye who call themselves Jews but are not. And that same cult of Satanists is going to bow at our feet in the end times. If there ever was an actual physical birthday of the Christ man, it's not December 25th. It would be closer to September 11th. Now think about that for a second. Why does the satanic cult love that date so much? Because they're trying to contaminate it. They're trying to defile Christ. Well, you look at the zodiac, as the scripture says, Christ was born of a virgin, right? That's Virgo, a Virgo birth, a virgin birth, September 11th. When was the so-called assassination of Charlie Kirk? September 10th. What was the date on the billboard in the movie Snake Eyes in the 20 or more years ago that was depicting and predicting through Hollywood programming all of the events that happened at Charlie Kirk assassination? September 10th. Virgo, defiling Christ. And whether Charlie Kirk is dead or not is irrelevant. My vote is that he is not dead at all. He was part of the inside, and the whole thing was a setup job, just like everything else always is. Nothing happens by chance. How clearly do I need to say it? Nothing happens by chance ever in the world, particularly if it comes to you through the mainstream news media wires. It is not real. We are living in a movie, literally. Washington, D.C. is a television studio run by Israel. Washington, D.C. is a television studio run by Israel. And guess what, folks? It's not just about Zionism. Because guess what? Zionism is merely a geopolitical movement, which has only been around 100 years or so, maybe a little more. And then the establishment of the so-called State of Israel, which is nothing of the kind. Israel is a kingdom of God in the sky, in heaven, not a litter box. in the Middle East. So there have been problems with this satanic synagogue for hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years, long before so-called Zionism ever existed. So when you hear the gatekeepers talking Zionist this and Zionist that, they are hiding the truth. The truth is deeper than that, because these fuckwads have been around since the time of Yeshua himself, because Yeshua himself fought them face to face and beat them with whips and said, you get the hell out of our civilization. This is God's kingdom. I'm here to bring God's kingdom on earth. And you fuckwad Satanists, synagogue of Satan, are going to catch the tail end of my whip. And that is why they killed him. They killed him for hate speech. They had to shut him up. And this fabricated story, brought to you by the great 501c3 tax-exempt churches of the world, that Christ died for your sins, Jesus, which is not even a real word. The derivative, the Spanish derivative of the word Yeshua. Jesus, Jesus, because the J in that language is Y, but there was no actual letter J. The name is Yeshua, and the synagogue of Satan knows this, and they hate him. Whether spirit, flesh, or otherwise, they hate him, and they hate you. They run the world today, and they ran the world in the time of Yeshua. So where are our bullwhips? Where the fuck are our bullwhips? Zionist this and Zionist that. No, it is way deeper. We are in a spiritual battle. We always have been, and we always will be until that battle is won. We're going to win if we fight. It's going to be brutal. We're going to lose friends and family. We might even be hungry. We might even be thirsty and have trouble feeding our children at some point in that fight. But we must fight. Otherwise, the world is never, ever going to improve. The cluelessness, the materialism, the dogmatic belief systems will never go away until we fight the battle properly. This is pure and simple truth. Let it sink in. Every day of your life is meant to be a day on the battlefield that Yeshua Christ lived on. And he wasn't born in December. So what is it, this December winter solstice and this celebration of the Christ Mass? I said earlier it was a fraud. You bet it is. Because the truth of it is, it's a pagan holiday, which is centered around the planet Saturn. Because it's Saturnalia, because when the sun enters into the sign of Capricorn on the 21st of December, Saturn becomes the ruler. Saturn sets the rules, lays down the laws, points a finger at you and says, stop, be patient, wait, do your homework, or I will not let you pass, and I'm going to hold you back. But it is also the god of debauchery and sin. And the Romans celebrated Saturnalia, drinking wine and having orgies. And in the ancient world, during Saturnalia, nothing happened, let alone a bunch of shopping for useless items and indulgence in drugs and alcohol and sex, promiscuous sex. In the ancient world, nothing happened during the winter solstice days, 22, 23, and 24 of the so-called Gregorian calendar in December. And by the way, let's talk about the Gregorian calendar for a second, because all you have to do is look at the damn words and see that the calendar is skewed, because September, for example, the so-called 9th month of the year, sept is in that word, and that means 7. October is 8, not 10. So the whole calendar is 2 months off, roughly. They twisted it to keep us out of line with nature. Out of line with nature. We all know that the ancient true calendar was the 13-moon calendar because it's perfectly symmetrical. 7 days times 4, 28. There's your moon cycle. 14, new, 14, full, waxing, waning. Perfect. 360-degree circle. A circle is not 365 degrees, ladies and gentlemen. A circle is 360. That's natural. It's mathematical. There's no mathematician or scientist in the world that could argue with me about that. So this 12-month Gregorian bullshit Vatican calendar that was propagated upon the world to confuse us and keep us out of line with nature, where the beginning of each new zodiac sign happens on the 21st or 22nd of every month. How fucking ridiculous is that? And the real new year is March 21st, 22nd. That's the new year. That's Mama Earth's new year. Mama Earth's true new year is the spring equinox, the vernal equinox, so-called March 21, 22 of the Gregorian modern calendar that the Vatican gave us. And by the way, the Vatican is owned, governed, founded, and run by the same satanic cult that runs and owns every other major institution in the world, including government, education, banking, entertainment, news, finance, right on down the line. If it matters to your life, they own it and they run it. And the Vatican's part of it. If you want to do a little more so-called research on that yourself, go look up Ignatius Loyola, the founder of the Jesuit order. Look about his background. I'm not going to say it here because the algorithm will stuff me into the corner and you'll never hear it. We're talking about Vatican and Israel working hand in hand. Heads of state kiss the Pope's ring, and the Pope kisses the rabbi's ring. Heads of state kiss the Pope's ring, and the Pope kisses the rabbi's ring. I've seen it, and so can you. Look it up. So isn't that interesting that in the so-called Gospels, the only 4 that the church allowed to be in the big book, after having buried the rest in sand, only to turn up later as the Dead Sea Scrolls, the Nag Hammadi Library, the Gnostic Gospels, and all such scriptures, which are very important for everyone in the world to read and study, and it should be taught in schools. But of course it won't be, because the synagogue of Satan runs the schools too. And don't you dare teach any truth in your schools, or you will lose your privileges as an institution. And the same with the church. People are afraid of losing their jobs because they run the banking system too. We all have to make this fake money so that we can put food on the table, keep the lights on, and feed our damn children. It's a rigged system. It always has been. It always will be. And it was when Yeshua walked the earth, if he ever really did. And I believe some Christ character did. But it ain't what the church told us, and it ain't what the history books told us. It's far deeper than that, and far different than that. We must go back, start from scratch, open up all the books, and cross-reference it all. But people don't have time for that shit now, do they? No, of course not. Yeshua beat them with whips. He was not afraid. He knew what he was in for, and he knew they wanted to kill him. He knew that. That's why he told his friends. He knew that hate speech, or so-called hate speech, or free speech, which is what he was practicing, he knew it wasn't going to last in a world run by Satanists. So now, all the gatekeepers of the interwebs coming out talking Zionism, Zionism, Zionism. Yeah, great, good. And now finally, the whole fucking world is waking up to the evils of Israel as if we didn't know 100 years ago, 80 years ago, whenever they founded that stupid litter box in the Middle East. Zionism only gives half the story. What about the rest of history? What about the fact that this cult of blood drinkers has been kicked out of over 100 countries over the centuries, over and over and over again. And yet people want to complain and bitch and keep talking about some regime called the Third Reich in Germany. And by the way, they didn't call themselves Nazis. They called themselves German National Socialist Workers. And by the way, the gate to the so-called Auschwitz concentration camp, which was a work camp, it wasn't a murder camp. The gate said Arbeit macht frei. Arbeit macht frei. Work will make you free. These Satanist fucks that completely screwed up Germany with their pornography and their usury. They never worked a day in their life. And the German National Workers' Party said, okay, you want communism? Here, there you go. You try it on for size. That's what the camps were. And I don't give a shit what anybody says about it or thinks about it. And people have gone to jail, prison, for saying what I just said. It's called Holocaust denial. Well, guess what? Holocaust means a sacrificial burnt offering. Sacrificial burnt offering. And guess who does that? Guess who does sacrificial burnt offerings? To Baal and Moloch. Guess who does that? The same Satanist cult that I'm talking about right now. And I think you know who I'm talking about and referring to. They are the ones that sacrifice children. They are the ones behind child trafficking. They are the ones behind adrenochrome, which is the so-called elite's drug of choice, right? A high like you've never felt, a youth serum, right? And they get all their Hollywood stars and all their media fuckwads addicted to it, right? Before they know it, they're hooked on it and they can't get out. You do not get to be a billionaire in this world unless you are part of the club. That's right, Carlin, it's a big club and you ain't in it. Well, guess what? George Carlin was in the big club too. That's why he knew to say it to you, because he was in it, because he knew it really existed. Don't you see? It's not that he was lying to you, it's that he wasn't telling you the whole truth. Because you don't get to be on HBO with a brand new special every year for several years out of your career. A huge HBO special, unless you are part of the club, because HBO is run by the club and owned by the club. Everything on television is the club. And those of you who know what I'm talking about know what I'm talking about. It's more than a club, it's a cult. They win the spiritual battle against us because of their rituals. Let's remind ourselves, ladies and gentlemen, that the word spiritual includes the word ritual in that word, spiritual. And the cult's really good at their rituals. And guess what? We're not. You know why? Because they gave us our rituals, and they're dumbed down, and they're flat out wrong and fraudulent. We're looking in the wrong place. If anything, the rituals of the world, the vast majority of civilization, is worshiping Yaldabaoth, the demiurge, the archons themselves. And we don't even know it. We're not even praying to the Most High, God, Almighty Father, creator of heaven and earth. We're not even praying to that God most of the time. How ridiculous. Because the cult gave us our stupid, watered-down, dumbed-down rituals, and we don't even know. But guess what? This cult that runs the world, they have a very good, close relationship with their deity, which is Satan. And they offer sacrifices to Malach and Baal. If you ever hear any bold, brazen, conceited member of this club, you can hear them saying, and I've heard them say it, God is Baal, God is Baal, God is Baal. Just ask them. They will smugly answer you honestly every once in a while. How dare they? How dare they? When the hand of God comes down, it's going to be on their head. And if we pray hard enough, and if we get right with God, and if we learn the truth and we're willing to face it, we have the strength to face the truth of the world, we might just have a chance to leave some kind of sane fucking world for our grandchildren. Otherwise, we're going down in flames with the cult, and that's what they are trying to do. They are trying to steal as many souls as they can from God, because we are God's people. That's right, me. We are the people of God, chosen of God. We're chosen of God, not the people who claim to be God's chosen people. They are frauds, they are imposters, they are liars and deceivers. Those of you who know. The rest of you need to open your ears and your eyes wide and understand that we've been duped, that everything is a lie, everything about history is fake, everything about religion is fake, everything in the news is fake, everything about the money system is fake. Life, the world is fake. And the only way out of that is a real relationship with the Most High, God, the Father Almighty, creator of heaven and earth. Back to a real relationship with Him, not through the church, not through some preacher, not even through the book. The books are there to guide us into that relationship. The book is not the relationship. The book is not the truth. The book is a guidepost towards the truth, but we must understand how to interpret it properly and to cross-reference it properly. But we don't do that anymore. We just ask ChatGPT fuckwad or whatever, and guess what? It's gonna lie to you over and over. So get your heads out of your asses The world is shit because we have not woken up to the truth. And if you think Zionism is the problem, you are missing half of the story. Zionism is the tip of the iceberg. So have a merry frickin' solstice. Have a fun Saturnalia. Do your merrymaking and wine drinking and laughing and burying your head in the sand. And you can even do your worshiping. Oh, the birth of Jesus. Yeah, right. In case you wondered, as I said, Yeshua Christ was born on September 11th. September 11th. Like I said, if you're easily offended, you're not going to enjoy this video. And many of you have already turned off and written nasty comments. I don't give a shit anymore. The world is going to hell. Now, I don't want to be a part of it anymore. So I'm just going to speak the truth into this stupid little camera right here until I can't anymore, because it's not worth fucking with. If we can't build an army to fight these bastards, because that's what they are. Bastards. Inbreds. Bastards. Satanists. Baal worshippers. Malach. With their dungeons of filth and their child trafficking and their blood drinking and their adrenochrome. That's what we're up against. Not politics. Politics is a joke. It's a fucking theater show. Isn't that what they call it? Political theater. Yep, you bet. Because it really is. They're telling you in plain sight what it is, and you never believed it. You're like, oh, just vote. You gotta vote the right people in. You gotta vote these people out. These people are behind the revolving door, man. You can't touch them. You can't touch them until you know the truth about them and understand how to fight them. We could build an army. We could build a real spiritual army. We could pick up our collective bullwhips, and we could go after the banksters ourselves. Guess what? Something tells me that's the only way. We're not going to be able to do it with any fucking election, I promise you that, because our votes don't count, and they never did. Every major election is fake. Every single one is fake. And it always has been. Hey, you think they're going to let us have a choice? Why do you think they've propagated the two-party system and snuffed out any other parties over the years? Because it's easy. Give you two choices, it just keeps us divided and conquered, fighting amongst ourselves instead of all turning our pitchforks toward them. Because the moment we do that, it's game over. Because guess what? We outnumber them 1,000 to 1. Yes, they have all the money. Guess what? The money is fake too. And if we turn that on them, then we win. We turn on the money system. We turn on the church, which is corrupt and satanic and atheists at this point, and communists. There are exceptions in your neighborhood country churches. Of course, there are exceptions to what I'm saying. There are some good preachers out there that are preaching the real truth. And I promise you, they are doing it, hoping and praying that they don't get taken out. I can promise you that. People wonder why the world is so damn crazy. I'm telling you why. Because we do not see what is right in front of us. The Charlie Kirk assassination was not an assassination. It was a TV show. It was a psyop. It was a fake staged event. And it's very possible that person is still alive. Now, who gives a fuck anyway? As are the gatekeepers that are trying to so-called deliver the truth about such an event. The Candace Owens and Jimmy Dore and Joe Rogan and all these shills and gatekeepers for the establishment. And they're called the elites. People call them the elites, which couldn't be any further from the truth. These people are scumbags. They're not elite at anything. But when you really look at that word, elites, if you break the word down, the ites of El, the men of El, like Canaanites and the Minites, those words are in the Bible. I-T-E-S at the end of a word means the men of, or the people of. The Canaanites are the people of Cain. The Elites, the so-called people of El. El is the ancient word for God, or the God, but the God that we're talking about, or they're talking about, is Yaldabaoth, the demiurge, Satan himself. The Elites are not elite at anything. They're scumbags, and they never worked a day in their life. They're money grubbers. They launder money, and they traffic children. And they live behind the revolving door of politics, religion, education, media, entertainment, and finance. They are all in the same club, no matter what side of the so-called political aisle or religious aisle they are. It makes no difference. That is all window dressing. It's all a show. It is all a show. If Q said one thing true, and I think it said a lot of things true, although Q is a psyop, Q did try to warn us that it's a show. It just twisted people's thinking into what the show was and what it meant. But it was hinting at the fact that all of it is a fucking show. We live in a movie. We live in a movie. Now, this beautiful area of nature that I'm walking in is part of that movie on a different level. That's Mama Earth's matrix. See, it's two matrices stacked on top of one another. But see, the people that run the world understand human perception very well. They understand psychology very well. They know how to manipulate our thinking and our perception. The world is a manipulated movie. The Earth is a holographic movie. Either way, it's all illusion on that level because our eyes and our ears do not show us the truth. They are physical senses to which our neurons and our cells, and then, of course, our thoughts and thinkings and opinions interpret. And that is already inaccurate because the soul intuits and feels and knows the truth. And that is beyond our sight and our hearing and our taste and our touch. That is why we are losing, because we don't even understand what we are and how we operate. If you would open up your eyes and ears wider than you ever have, and train yourself in discernment, open up the areas of your brain that have never been touched, like that famous Hollywood blockbuster, Lucy, who took that crazy drug and opened up 100% of her brain. And the idea in that film is that by the time her brain hit 100% capacity, she turned into God, right? Those of you who have seen that film understand what I'm trying to say. All of us have that capacity. It's not that we're God. It's that we're made in the image of the true God. And we have that spark of divinity within us. The spark that we can cultivate wisdom, but we have to cultivate it. We can't sit around and go, ooh, Trump this, Biden that, Hillary that, Putin him, Netanyahu. You'll never find the answer like that. Never, never. So get with the program. Fight the battle. Understand that we are not celebrating Christmas right now. The ancient peoples did nothing during this time. They meditated in the dark for 3 or 4 days because they knew it was an ominous, dark time, not some time to go shopping and put a pagan decorated tree in your home. Christmas is pagan. It always has been. It's Saturnalia. It's the feast of Saturn, feast of Moloch. You are worshiping Satan when you celebrate Christmas, and you don't even know it. Saturn is Satan. Santa, see the resemblance in those words? Saturn, Santa, Satan. Duh, duh, duh. Wake up, human race. Get off your damn knees. Like David Icke said, get off your damn knees. Fight the battle, pick up your bullwhip, and let's go after the synagogue of Satan together. Have a nice day.